What is up, everybody? This is Recap Rewind. I'm J-Lag.
And I'm NB.
And this episode is recapping and reviewing Riverdale Season 7, Episode 2. And it's called Chapter 119. Skip, Hop, and Thump.
Ooh. Skip, hop. And don't forget, guys, stick around for the ending of the podcast. We are going to go through our recap roundups and your recap roundups. And there are so many good ones this week. So be sure to stick around for the end of the podcast for that.
And as always, to our continuing listeners and our brand new ones, thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
The channel.
The episode.
Let's get into it. What did you think?
Okay. Hot take. I don't even know if this is a hot take because I don't know everybody's reaction to it. But
okay.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I think that it is, like now that we're in this world, like 50s, we're staying here.
Yep.
We know what happened last episode. This is kind of like this is like the true reset, in my opinion, in terms of like, forget about the time jump and the skipping and the universe and the angel and whatever. We're now in this world. Let's deal with it. I enjoyed it. I think like if we're in this world, it was good. It brought up some things. Like it felt very high school.
Yeah.
It gave us some high school drama. I'm really, really excited to talk to you about like some of the shipping that is starting to be created. The love triangling is very new and different from what they've done in the past.
Yeah.
That I'm excited to talk to you about. And then a few like different relationships that I didn't think they were going to explore this late in the game, but they are.
Like what?
Like Jughead and Ethel, for example. Like, what a random thing. And
He's
then also like
friend zone her.
Can't wait to talk about Kevin.
Oh my god.
I have a smile on my face for the first time talking about Kevin. So
okay, good. That's
it'll be
hopeful.
Yeah. Interesting stuff happened this episode. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree with you. You know me, I'm all about the high school. I absolutely loved it. I ate it up. I ate every little crumb. I loved it, and I think that a lot of people, because I kept seeing like people's commentary and they're like, why are we going backwards? Like we've already dealt with, I'm like, but I don't see it as going backwards. It's kind of like this reset, like how you said, totally. Like it's like a reset on all these characters. We're starting from ground, zero again, and we're building them up. And I have to say, I'm loving some of the interactions that are happening and the way things are unraveling. For example, when Archie asks Veronica and it doesn't go his way, he doesn't just sit there like a little puppy dog. He's like, you know what? Like, no, like I'm done.
Yeah. And he doesn't like rage out like he normally would, like punch a wall or something, like this is not angsty Archie that we met in the other world.
I freaking love Archie so much. KJ Appa, like my heart has a spot for him because like the way he's so jolly and like so innocent this whole episode. I freaking loved it. But to what I was saying, I'm loving those interactions. I will say one thing that I'm waiting to see, and I'll say this now before I forget. We are in this time where like obviously like homosexuality is like no one's talking about it. It's like taboo, like literally in some states it's like illegal. So I get that some characters are hiding this, right? Kevin and Cheryl. But the other characters that are more open about it, like Clay now that we're meeting and Tony, they're very like sort of confident about it. They're very like comfortable with it. I want to know, where do they come from that they are so open about it in this generation? And we already know sort of where Kevin and Cheryl come from and why they are the way they are. Like, I really hope they show that difference of the foundational growth and like awareness in these two people and why they're comfortable with it, and then these two people.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely wonder if they're going to explore that because it's a really good point
where's
that you
Tony's
make.
story?
They literally just jump right in and they're like, yeah, gay, gay, gay. You know what I mean? Like they're super like pro it and like they're not really skirting around it. But yeah, we can definitely talk about it more when we get to it. But that's a really good question. Like, are they going to talk about the reason why they're okay with it? Because if you remember, in the other world, Tony didn't have a good time talking to her parents about being gay, right? So like that was a hard conversation for her to have, and I think it was with her grandma, I think. Yeah. So it's not exactly like a cut and dry situation. Are they going to bring in culture? Are they going to bring in the historical culture around that? Because I don't know if that was necessarily the case back then either.
You know what?
maybe it's
Now that
just a
you're saying
matter.
that, somebody, and I'm so sorry if I forget your name. I don't know who said it now. It was someone in our comments, and they said the fact that they're not. I mean, they hope that they also touch on the fact that Veronica's like Latina. Like, why are you not talking about the fact that she's Hispanic in this time, in that age, in that generation? Like, if they kind of skirt over that, I don't know. I feel like they will, but someone brought that up in our comments, and I thought that was such a great point to make.
Yeah,
And then also quickly the fact that Veronica, like this, looking at like where these kids are coming from and who their parents are and like what they know and what their experiences are, I look at Veronica and I just feel so sad for her because she gets none of that, and we see more of that in this episode, and we'll talk about it later. But yeah,
for sure.
more of like this background of like who these characters are
Right.
now that we're sitting with them once again and like sort of like a reset now.
And I think that does come from, and not to like bring the parents back into it, but we think
Yeah,
we got a lot of that from the parents and seeing how the parents are
yeah,
acting and how that's kind of impressed on them. And if what you said early, like last episode, that Mark Consuelos did sign on for at least one episode,
yeah,
maybe when he does show up with hopefully Hermione as well, we get that story from Veronica to be like, this is why they had the show, made it their baby.
yeah,
Maybe it has to do with the fact that they're Latino, or like Latinx, and
yeah, like
they
push
had to
through and
like
like
push through. Yeah.
yeah,
So maybe that is a part of her story, and I feel like I'd totally right into that, because I think
100%.
that is a reality even now, right? Like having to look a certain way or be a certain way just so you
Yeah.
can be accepted by the majority of society. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see how they explore that, but I don't know. Like, do you know how many episodes season is?
I'm assuming it's the same, like 22,
Like 22
20.
episodes. So maybe they
Yeah.
have some time to discover like these little pieces. I think my issue is I keep worrying about them rushing to the end, and
I
like
know.
I'm sure everyone's feeling the same way. Like there's a lot to bite into now that they've like really blew it up into something
So
completely
much.
new.
And I think that's what we're saying right now is like, guys, there is so much to talk about. There's a
Yeah.
lot of potential here. Hopefully they get to all those points because I do think it will add, that layer that this season is really touching on. Like we are
Yeah.
going there. So let's go there.
Let's go.
Final
Let's go.
season. Like let's do it. Okay.
For sure.
Let's do it.
Let us do it. Let's go into the episode. Starts off with Jughead reading comics. He talks about the fact that the whole town loves comics, but right now horror and crime comics are like the thing. He's flipping through one of them, and then we see him like getting upset about something. We're like, what happened? Shows the next morning, and he goes into the lounge to talk to Dilton. Ben, we see Ben, this character that we saw from the very beginning of the show. He's like all
Who was
grown up
Ben?
now.
The one that like died?
Yeah, the one who jumped out the window during the
Oh,
cult,
okay.
like
Oh,
cult
yeah, yeah, yeah.
storyline. So he's back, and then Ethel, they're all kind of sitting around the table. I guess it's like the nerd table. I want to call it the nerd table. And obviously like Jughead's buddies with them. So he's like, did you see the comics? Somebody stole my idea. Pep Comics stole my idea. I literally
So
submitted this to
heated.
them, and they took my idea. So he's heated. This is his mission this episode. And then it cuts to Cheryl's mission of the episode, which is announcing the sock hop. She's very excited about it. And then it's cute because it's like the announcement is playing and it shows like everybody reacting to it. It was
Hmm.
kind of cute to
Yeah.
see, Archie kind of like googly eyeing over Veronica, and then even Betty looking over at Kevin and then kind of making eyes with Archie and like noticing him from afar. It
Mm-hmm.
was that cute little, like, I don't know, that high school moment
Yeah.
that you see
They
like
did
these people
so
kind of like
good.
looking at each other. It was cute. I
Yeah.
loved it. So um Archie asked Veronica out like right off the top, and
To
she
the
wants him to like
dance, right?
essentially, yes, to the
Yeah.
dance. And she wants him to essentially audition. She like says it right from the get-go. um I'd like to see your moves. That's how she kind of starts it off. I'd like to see like how you
Yeah.
dance.
Like,
And
can
so
you
in his
dance?
head, this cutie
He's so
Archie, he
cute.
was, like
I
you just said,
can't.
he was the cutest little guy in this episode. And this, I guess, is a shout out to KJ Appa being such a great actor. But like playing a 17-year-old when you were 20 something and a father, like I don't know
He
how you pull
really
back into that, but he does.
he really like rejuvenated this character like in a season where I really thought he was like, I'm over this, like let's wrap this shit up, like we're final season, he still brings this amazing magical energy to Archie that like when he's on screen, I'm like smiling because he's so
Yeah.
cute. Like he's so like giddy and jolly. And it's KJ, like it's what he
Yeah.
brings to the role.
And it's a different energy.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like the Archie that we had in the other world, he was obviously like a little bit darker, gritty. He went to war. That really affected him greatly.
Yeah.
This one's like, I'm truly 17. I'm just a
Yeah.
do-gooder. He just wants to like have a good time. He's not ready to like fight anybody. And like obviously he says something like that later
Yeah.
on, like, when he gets triggered. But like what we see in this episode is this very like loving kid. Like he's just a kid and he
Yeah.
just wants to like, so when Veronica says like, you need to teach me to dance, you can see like the wheels turning as like a sophomore kid or a junior being like,
Mm.
oh, I gotta learn some dance moves. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's trying to impress this cool girl, so
Mm-hmm.
I loved it. And Veronica's just
Totally.
sitting there all pretty, whatever. Then it cuts to Cheryl and she's selling her tickets at the booth, and Tony is
Does Tony go to the school? Because like I couldn't tell.
I think she does. I think she does, but they don't really introduce that in the first episode in that way, right? Like she's
Yeah.
wearing different clothes in the
Yeah.
first episode, but I think she's there. I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
she's
I
there.
think she's there.
So
Yeah.
she shows up this time, but she shows up with fangs. I think that's the first time you kind of see her, and she's now like in the greaser mode. And
Yeah.
I know we asked about it last episode, like where are the serpents? Are they going to be introduced? But they are like
They are.
already established as like a greaser group.
Yeah.
They don't really go much more past the fact that they're like a little mini greaser gang
So
from the 50s.
remember how last episode we thought she was grabbing the serpent jacket and she was like, I don't
Right.
recognize this. It wasn't she was wearing the serpent jacket. It was the other
The
the
pretty
other the pretty
poisons.
poison that she was like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
this is, I don't understand
Yeah.
this. But essentially, Tony goes over to Cheryl and says, I know that you guys are having the sock hop, and I know you already have a lineup, but my buddy Fangs wants to play at your sock hop. He's cooler, he's more fun. Your crooner boy bands are out. Like, get my boy
Time to
in.
go. Yeah.
Time to go. And it's an interesting moment, and I know CHONI fans probably lost their freaking
I
minds.
mean, yeah.
I lost my mind as a fan, just kind of like watching them
Because
create
they're
the
so
spark.
funny. Like
It's just like the perfect amount of like
yes.
push and pull,
Yeah.
and like this giddiness that you get from Cheryl, who's like clearly in this
Like
world
she's getting so annoyed.
she's getting annoyed, but she's getting excited, and she's kind
Yeah.
of like getting like she hears
And like
what's
Tony knows
happening
how to
with
like
Tony.
push her. Like every inch she's like
Yes.
pushing her, and then Cheryl's like
Yeah,
like
and
it's
she's
just
like,
fun
I
to
just want
watch.
to jump you. Yeah, like it's really cute to see this little banter that they're having. And essentially Cheryl says no in this moment. She's
Yeah.
like, no, you cannot do that. No, 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 we're not doing that. So obviously Tony's like, okay, cool, I hear you, I see you, I'm gonna make a move now. Cuts to Jughead at the comic publisher's place, like Pep Comics. He goes to visit them and talks to the editor-in-chief, and he calls him out. He's like, you stole my idea, I can't believe you did this, I wrote it in, and now like it's a comic book, like what the hell. And he basically says, the editor-in-chief says, listen, no shade, but like there's no such thing as original ideas when it comes to
Yeah.
comic books. Like your idea was not that original. There's literally an entire cabinet
Yeah.
full of half-baked ideas that I haven't even published yet, and I just need to write them, so get in line, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's when Jughead kind of like sparks a light bulb, and he goes, you guys don't have writers? Like I write, like I can write you a comic book. And so the guy says, cool, write me a little draft, here's an idea, write me a draft, and let's see how it goes. If it works, then cool, then I'll publish your idea.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do you think this storyline is gonna feed into that whole storyline of him like writing Riverdale?
I
Is
think
that
so.
yeah?
I mean, I still don't really know what the final intention is. I loved
Yeah.
when he was getting into comic books last season when he lost his hearing and he
Mhm.
started becoming like more of a comic book writer, because I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like he kind of adds to this new story,
Yeah.
but then he got back to the typewriting. I don't really know like where that all falls, but all we know is that he's going to be contributing some writing to the story, and
Okay.
maybe that is going to be the final kind of piece, like it all kind of comes back together to the comic book storyline. I don't
Yeah.
know, we'll see.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so he Jughead's game, he's ready to write for them, he takes the paper and he leaves. Then it cuts to Betty and Archie in her room.
Okay. Let's do it.
Like crack crack crack,
Let's
let's
do
get into this.
this. Okay.
So once again,
So,
going back to
but
art, sorry, go ahead.
up until now, there has been no. I mean, it's only been an episode, but
An
like
episode.
there hasn't been a Barchie Crumb.
No.
And I'll be on like I like Barchie, but like there was no Barchie Crumb last week, guys. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what, you know what I mean? So this truly was like a moment where I was like, wait, are they starting to build this, or is it just like a total like innocent like moment scene? And I loved that. I will say this one thing. I love the fact that in this version, Betty didn't come into it being like, I love Archie. It really wasn't a thought to
Right.
her really until this
Until the
this.
scene.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love that.
I mean, I do love the idea that they built in the other world where like they were childhood friends and
Yeah.
across the
But
window.
they still were in this one, you know,
They
like
were, but like they don't like they were like she was this forlorn love interest from a long time ago, and ever since they were kids she saw him from afar, and she
but it
like
was
that
so
whole buildup was
one-sided.
there,
It was so one-sided because it was like from her, and it was
Yeah.
like her being friend zone all those years. So like
Right.
totally, I love that too, and I think it's so like romantic and cute in a way. But like this was like we're starting off blank. We really haven't thought about this, and here we go. And I
Yeah.
found that really exciting.
But don't you feel that in a way this is still currently in its current state a little one-sided? Like Betty's starting to catch feelings by the end of the episode. We don't
Maybe
really know what Archie's
no,
intention,
you're
like,
right. You're
he's
right.
still hung up on Veronica by the end of the episode, right?
You're right, but like maybe it'll change. And like it was very subtle too. Even with her, she was like, what am I feeling right now? Like
Yeah.
she didn't even know what she was feeling yet.
Right.
So I don't know. They just did such a good job of really like building this in a slow way, and I loved
Yeah.
it.
It was really, really cute. So like he goes to her basically saying like, I don't know how to dance. I'm trying to
Yeah.
take out Veronica. Can you teach me how to dance? So already I'm just like, oh my god, he's going to his like neighbor girlfriend, like, just to like learn how to dance. And she's like, totally, let's like
Yeah,
learn how to
like
dance together. And so she's like, let me teach you the twist. KJ
dead.
Appa trying to learn the twist.
She's like,
He
no, babe, use your hips. He's
like
like this.
yeah, it was
He was
so
so cute.
freaking cute. I was
And then he was
dead.
like, I can't. He
Yeah.
like gave
He's
up
like,
halfway
no,
through.
no, this is not working for
He
me.
was so cute.
It was so cute, and she's like, okay, let's try a
A
slow
slow one.
dance.
She's like, flip, record,
Yeah,
flip.
flip the record, put the slow dance song
Oh my
on,
god.
and this is when they have a bit of
He's
a
like,
Barchie moment. Hands on,
huge.
like whatever, like they're holding each other. We get some slow motion, some smiling, close-up shots. Like
And they're
I
kind
don't
of
know. I was
they're kind of oh no, I was like dying. Like I was like, oh my
I
god.
was like in
Because
love.
they're kind of like as they're doing it, they're like, well, this feels nice. And I
Yeah,
think also it's because of the times, right? Like the times where in the 50s where like you don't do those things. Like you
right.
dance like 8 feet apart, like you barely hold hands. We find
Yeah.
out later that like Kevin and Betty hadn't even kissed. So like it's this time where like you don't really have this intimacy. And just that moment of them just like hugging each other and being close, where they were like, oh, okay, this is nice,
Yeah,
you
this is
know?
interesting. I enjoy
Yeah.
this. And I don't know if it's because they're younger that they have this like shift in like how their parents were versus how they are now. Because you would expect them to be like, no, we cannot do this. You know what I mean? Like very regimented, especially someone like Betty who has a mom like Alice, because she does walk into the room and is like, Archie, get out of my house. Betty, what are you doing? Stay
Yeah.
the straight-laced girl. Like what is inciting this like shift in their energy to want to be closer, to want to engage in like some intimate experiences with one
Well, we know
another?
why
Is it just
Betty.
an age
We
thing?
know why
Like,
Betty wants that dude.
I mean, she's just like into it, you know what I mean? But
Thirsty.
of course, like Alice in this moment, as she did in even
Crazy.
the original season,
Like, get out.
she's like, get out, you're being annoying, leave. He leaves, and Betty's kind of just left with like a bit of a smile on her face, but it was cute. I really like, what a great way to start this Barchi storyline.
Totally. I freaking loved it.
And you sent me the I guess the interview from Lily Reinhart, and she
Yeah.
does underscore like, do not
You're
worry,
getting a lot.
you're gonna get
It's gonna be a
Barchi.
Barchi buffet.
Yeah, you're gonna pop off on the Barchiness. I just didn't think it was gonna happen this fast, but I'm really
But
happy
no,
that it
but like
is.
it was so slow and I loved that. It wasn't like this overtly like, oh, I like you now. It was
No,
like
no, no, no. Yeah,
totally like
more like I'm glad that it started in episode
now.
2, like episode 2,
Yeah.
like not like halfway through the
Yeah.
season like they have in the past, where like she accidentally kisses him while they're digging up a body or something like
Yeah.
that, you know.
Agreed.
So it cuts to Jughead and Ethel talking about his writing and how he's excited about, you know, submitting his first draft. And she kind of talks about the fact that she would love to draw because she's an artist.
Yeah.
She would love to draw for Pep Comics. And he says, well, if they like my writing, I'm totally gonna put your name in. Like maybe we can work together.
Yeah.
And Ethel's like, oh my god, thank you so much, like Jughead, that'd be
Yeah.
so fantastic. And so it was cute. Before we get into it, what do you think of their relationship so far?
I don't know. Like, I haven't seen enough to really think anything of it. And she's always been sort of like this really wacky character. So, like, it
Yeah.
hasn't been enough substance for me to like really like her, or like, I am rooting for her for sure. Like, I was like, oh my God, this is so cute. But I wish we got a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Having said that, I do feel like he doesn't like her. I feel like he just friend zones
He's
her.
very like platonic. Yeah.
Yeah, and
He's
she likes
just
him, like you can
yeah.
tell.
Yeah.
What
I
do you
don't know.
think?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like it would be cool to see them together in a way that we have not seen these pairings together at all. Like,
Yeah.
where is Jughead now in all of this mishmash of the new world? Like, if Tabitha's gone,
Yeah, that's true.
Betty's out, you know, Veronica's obviously likely not going to be in this situation either. Like, where does Jughead lie?
Why
Does
do
he
people
need to have a romantic interest? Not
No, not
necessarily,
necessarily,
you know,
'cause
but like you always kind of see these people and you're like, oh, like they could go well together.
yeah,
Like
they
I
have
could
like so
totally
many
see them hang
interests,
out.
like they're like friends.
And they're
But
comic book lovers, like, you know, I
yeah,
could see it happening. But
where and I really want to know where like Jughead and Veronica are gonna fall into.
yeah,
'Cause they
yeah,
keep
because
they
I
keep
think
hinting at that and I'm like, but how?
we do see it in a trail. Like I think in the trailer they were kissing, right? At one
Those
point.
are
So
those two have always been two characters that are at polar ends of this show.
yeah.
Like they have nothing in common. Like they
Yeah,
don't.
it's true.
Even like Archie and Cheryl, I could see them at some points. Kevin and whatever. Like there's other characters that I can see, but like those two I never see it.
Never get it. It's just like totally different worlds, right? Like he's literally living in an abandoned trailer. Like she's living
Literally.
in a hotel that her parents like decided to buy
And do you
randomly.
want some hot tea?
What's the hot
So
tea?
Lily doesn't follow Cole anymore on Instagram.
Ah!
But that's obvious, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
you
yeah.
know who else doesn't follow Cole on Instagram?
Ooh, Camila
Yeah,
Mendes!
she be
Oh my
following
god.
him. Dude,
Ooh.
something went down. I'm telling you. Cole, like,
Ooh.
yeah,
He done
he done
something
done
wrong.
something.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
Anyways,
Okay, well, she's like, do not put me in a scene with him ever.
yeah, she's like, X, no.
She's like, my character does not do anything. I do not need to function with this
Yeah.
person. Anyway, so let's cut to the
Yeah.
next scene. Kissing point. I don't remember what it's called. Do you remember what it's called?
Like
The
lovers
little cliff?
lookout or something. It's
The
always like a
lookout point,
lookout
yeah.
point.
So all the cars are kind of stacked, and of course Cheryl kind of comes in. She's knocking on all the cars, trying to make sure that everybody has tickets to her dance. And one of the doors roll down, and they're like steam. They're like
Yeah, like you couldn't see
Titanic
it.
steam. If anything, I thought it was being hotboxed. Like I was like, what's going on in that car? Anyway, the windows roll down, and she sees Fangs and Midge, her sister Vixen, making out, and she's like, Midge,
How
get
could
out
you
of
do
here,
this?
get inside, like get
Yeah,
outside. Anyway, so she's obviously like against the serpents and Fangs, etc.
yeah,
And Midge is like in love, whatever.
totally.
Also they changed the actress for Midge. Like they changed a few of the
No,
actors. Is it
it's
not the same
her.
act?
Yeah,
Are
yeah,
you
it's her.
oh, okay.
100, like I'm pretty sure it's
She
her.
looks like
I think the
completely
hair,
different to me.
the hair is different.
The hair I think is the same. I think this one looks more natural. The other one, she looked like she was
Maybe.
wearing a wig. Like,
Yeah,
so
maybe. No, but
I
I think
don't
it's the
know.
same actress. Because even me, I was
Anyways,
like, who is this? And I'm like, oh, it's Midge. Like I connected. I was like, okay, it's her.
yeah. Anyway, so she's there, and then it cuts to Betty and Kevin sitting at Lookout Point quietly in the car.
Awkward.
Awkward
Like, oh my god, the
moment.
sexual tension was not in that car.
Here's here's what I'm gonna say, and it's probably the only bad thing I'm gonna say, and it's really honestly not to Kevin's fault.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, it's the writers. I mean,
Oh,
it's always
okay.
been the writers, but
That's true.
I don't see a character. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm reading to this too much. But someone like Kevin, who's currently like confused and like going through his things, like going through the motions of driving up to Lookout Point just to stare into nothingness with your girlfriend who you're supposed to be making out with at the very
Mm,
least, and like all the things that they should be doing. Like
yeah.
you're either leaning into it and like really pretending to do the damn thing and like let's find a way to make it happen, or you're like trying to avoid her at all costs. Like seeing her
Yeah,
in
I
that,
get what you're
seeing them
saying.
in that moment and seeing them sitting there awkwardly in the car, yes, cinematically and like television wise, we're looking being like, oh my god, what's gonna happen next? Oh shit, like Betty just jumped all over him, like what the hell? But he's positioning himself in that for what? Like what is his gain out of it outside of his own personal maybe guilt?
Yeah.
I just don't see a character like him doing that necessarily. Like why would he even put himself in that position?
He's
But
just
that's
trying to,
just
I
me
think
reading
he's
into
just
it
trying
that
to
way.
go with the emotions of what everyone else is doing. Like, that's what you do on a
Yeah,
Friday
yeah.
night. You go to that place and like
You hang out with your
you
girlfriend.
hang out or whatever. And then
But at
like you,
least
how
like
she even talks about the pin, right? Like he was even
right,
scared to give her the pin because of
right,
like what that would imply and probably like
right.
what he would have to do. What, so like he is
To
very
do that.
hesitant. Like he doesn't like he's trying, but then he's
But
like,
I
no, I
also
don't
mean
want to go
like
there.
bring a little bit of more awkwardness to it outside of just like sitting in a car weird. Like go have pops and like throw like stuffed fries in her mouth when she tries to make out with you. Like bring a little bit
Oh,
of
I
something
see what you're
different to
saying.
it outside
Yeah.
of like him just being like, I just can't imagine just being in that position. I guess I don't know. Anyway, it
But
doesn't
that's the
matter.
thing. You can't. Like you
I
can't. It's a
can't.
totally different time. It's
Totally
like,
different time.
like
And I'm sure people did go through things like that and like sat in
like
cars and felt
they could
awkward
have been
about it.
like
And
they could have even been like making out and then like she looks down and like there's like not is like not happening and then like he could have been like if you want to go
but
there you
that's
could
what I
go
mean.
there
Like
but it's like a
go,
kid show they're
but
not
that's
gonna
what I
do
mean. Like
that.
go there if you're gonna go there. Then like
Yeah, but
let
they
him have that moment. Like
it's still like rated
otherwise,
like PG.
like we have seen some shit on this show. I
That's
cannot
true.
imagine them being like, "Oh, you're not hard." Like what's going on here? Fuck. We saw Shoni tonguing each other like three
Oh my
seasons ago.
god, it's true.
So anyway,
Maybe
it
that'll
is
come
what it
up
is.
next time. Like maybe because like now like she has the pin, like she's gonna want to do stuff, and then he's gonna be like, "No, I can't."
He's like, I can't even. Nothing's
But
happening
look,
now.
that's not really true either. Like
Yeah,
a lot of gay men have had sex with women,
yeah,
so
for
like it
sure.
is possible still. So
It it
like
is for sure.
and that's
We're
not a
both like,
fair.
yeah,
That's not a fair like representation either of like that he is. You know what I mean? Anyways, I think they
yeah,
just don't want to get so deep into it.
yeah.
But I don't
Because
know. Like I'm curious to see what's gonna happen with this guy.
for sure, for sure. Um, I looked anyway. We'll talk about him when
So
we get
in
there.
this moment, she was just cheese because she was like, pin me. And I was like, what the hell does that mean? Like, is that
I
like
know it's
another
like
way of
pin,
like
like
pin? Like,
yeah,
she
like
wants to be pinned
pin, yeah,
hard in the car. I was like, oh my God. And then she's like, no, like a pin, like an actual pin on her
like
shirt.
old school, like put a pin on it. And I was like, does that mean that you guys are like going steady? Does that mean
Yeah.
that you guys have had sex? Like,
And I
is
already
that
thought
like
they were
the
going steady. Like they
social
were boyfriend
thing?
and girlfriend.
I thought so too,
It
but we
makes it
don't
like
know.
official. Like a pin is like,
Yeah.
we're good. We're official now.
Right. Anyway, she does try to kiss him. He
Yeah.
pushes her back. He calls her a sexual maniac, like a sex
Yo, I was
maniac.
like,
I was like, bro, and I'm glad that she stood up for herself because I
oh,
didn't
for
want her to be
sure.
this like dainty like girl. She was like, bro, I'm just asking you to like be intimate with me. You're my fucking boyfriend.
Well,
What's
and it's
wrong with
so
you?
funny because these two things are happening at the same time. She's feeling this chemistry with Archie, right? Like she's noticing there is like this like pull here, but there's nothing happening here.
Yeah,
So it's
exactly.
happening at the same time, which is like a very like natural way I feel like.
Contrast.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So she storms out of the car. She leaves. He doesn't go after her in the middle of the night. Okay, cool. I don't understand that either, but fine. Then it cuts to Jughead in the comic book office. His name is Mr. Fieldstone. I forgot to write it down before, but
Mm.
Mr. Fieldstone really likes his writing. And then Jughead says, okay, I'm going to put my friend, who's an artist, her name in. She's great. She's cheap. Would you like to hire her? And as soon as Mr. Fieldstone heard cheap, he was like, let's go, bro. Let's do
I'm
this.
in.
So then it cuts to Riverdale High, and we have a moment with Kevin walking into the music room to practice, and he
Oh,
hears
yeah.
somebody playing the piano. And this is the guy that he was eyeing in the first moment of like when the sock hop was
Yeah.
announced. We don't know his name. We saw him
Yeah.
last episode. He's like this beautiful young man playing the piano. And he introduces himself. He says, my name is Clay Walker. I just moved here. And he knows everything about Kevin. Kevin is this. He's dating the prettiest girl in school. And, you know, it's a really cute moment because when I looked up Clay Walker, I think you mentioned this last episode too, but he is the character in the comics that ends up marrying Kevin.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
that's so cool.
they put his character into the show
Okay.
to, I guess, like say like this is kind of the
Why
final
wouldn't they
destination
ever
for
have
him.
done him from the beginning? Which
I
is so
don't
weird to me.
know. I don't know. But at the
Anyways.
same time, like he kind of effed up with other relationships. Like he could
Yeah, I
have been with
guess.
Fangs, but he didn't because he's an idiot. So
Yeah.
like,
But there was
anyway,
Moose. Remember there was like Moose before
there
that.
was Moose. There were all these
Yeah.
different characters that he had a chance to play with, and he was
So
just like a loser. So
apparently Clay is like the son of like a veteran or like he's like a military brat. So like he's
yeah,
been
yeah,
traveling like his whole life, which I guess sort of lends that idea that like he's seen the world. He's very worldly and he doesn't live in a small town. So maybe that's also why he's more like open-minded and like he's more comfortable with like who he is and
right.
whatever. What I would like to know more is like why is he like, do you think he knows that Kevin's like might be gay?
I don't know. I feel like he's being bold enough to put it
Yeah.
forward. So at least he doesn't think that he's alpha enough to like beat his ass in the 50s. You know what I mean? Like he's
Yeah,
not coming up to
yeah.
him being like, "Oh, you cute," and then like being afraid of being like gang beaten because that could have easily happened
Like,
in
what's
that
your
time
sign
too.
of saying to him? Because at the end we'll talk about it too, but like he was very straightforward.
Very
So it was
straightforward.
more of like, what made you to this point make you think that he would want to have like private lessons with you or like private time with you? Nothing
He's
has
just being a
happened.
cutie, like he's just being
Yeah,
a cute little flirtatious boy,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like it's where it works. Like Kevin obviously doesn't back down. He feels some feelings, just like Betty's feeling some
yeah.
feelings. Like things are stirring, and it was a cute little
Stirrings,
moment.
definitely.
The stirrings. So he goes and sits down at the piano while Clay leaves, and he has like a double take,
Like,
and I was rooting for him at this
watch
point in
that
time.
ass
The
leave.
first the first thing I thought was, Kevin,
I
please don't
was.
fuck this up.
I
Like,
know.
do not fuck this up. Like, he is the
I
one for you.
know. It's cute.
And but then I also thought about it too, like going back to what you were talking about with Moose and stuff. Like, does that mean that when we invest ourselves into certain relationships in this world, some of them might not translate?
Well,
Like,
that's
Clay doesn't exist at all
exactly
in
like
that
what's gonna
world.
happen.
So introducing him now, being like the love of his life, being the person that he gets married to in the comics, why wasn't he even involved in the old world? So like when they go back, or if they go back, now I'm like wondering, does he meet Clay again, or how does that all work? Or is Kevin
Maybe
just going
it's
to be this listless loser in the world? You know, like, does he learn anything? I don't
maybe
know.
it's less about what characters end up like being there at the end and more so our original characters and what they've learned and
Yeah.
like who they become later on to, I don't know, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. And I really am, now that we're in this world, I think that it's going to be like this for a few, like at least this, like I feel like it's going to be most of the season.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
How are we gonna like marry the two worlds? Like, we were invested
No
for
idea.
7 seasons on these characters.
No, I think we'll come back to our originals, right?
But
like,
how are they gonna
but
do that? How
I
are they
don't
gonna
know.
make us feel like they're fused in a way that's not like awkward and weird and like,
Mm.
but this happened in this world, but this happened in this world, and he wasn't like that in that world. And what does he, like, to your point, like what does he learn?
Yeah.
How is he different? Like, we're even saying like Archie's not angry and like punching punching walls in this world at all. Like, how do you marry him with like the angsty, tortured Archie of the original world? Like, how do you marry this Betty that is like innocent and young to the one that we know who is like has the M4A gene and like the serial killer gene and this and that and like murders and blah blah blah. Like, there's so much darkness
Maybe
in that
it
world.
just won't. I don't
I don't,
know.
but I
I
would you be
know.
okay
It's
with
no,
that?
I don't know.
Like,
No.
because like that's the thing, like, are we so invested in those characters and seeing them through, or are we willing to take the reset and say, this is how you guys wanted to end Riverdale, that's how you're ending
No.
Riverdale? You know what I
No.
mean?
No.
It feels weird,
Yeah,
right?
it does
Like,
feel weird. Especially
so
because
it'll be
we're late in
interesting
the we're this late in the game. We're
for
like
sure.
we have these established characters. We've gone through hell and back with them. And
Yeah,
so and I see it. People are commenting and tweeting us and they're like, this doesn't make sense. This isn't who this person is.
right.
So it's hard because we all have this idea of who this person is already. So
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
anyways, yeah.
Exactly. Anyway, cutting back to the lounge, Archie talks to Veronica and he says, "Hey girl, I learned how to slow dance. Like, are you down to go out with me now?" And she says, "Okay, cool, 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 cool. I want to actually also talk to you about how we're gonna spend the rest of the night. Like, how do you speak? Let's
Politics,
talk
pop
politics. Let's talk
culture.
be more worldly and all the smart stuff." And poor Archie, like, everything's stacked up
This
against
is
him.
when
He's
I was
like,
like, girl, like you're asking for a
like
lot now.
you need
Like,
to, you're basically changing him at this point.
yeah.
And but of course Archie, doe-eyed Archie, is like,
He's
okay,
like,
whatever you
okay,
say,
yeah.
I could do whatever you want. Like, I can anyway, he's excited. I was gonna say something else, but he's very excited to make this happen for Veronica. As he leaves, Betty's kind of in the corner and she notices this whole thing happen,
Freaking
this
love this moment.
exchange
Lord
with
King.
Archie. And so she turns to Veronica and she's like, "Oh, it's that easy. Like, you just
She's like,
tell
so
them
that's
what
how
to
you do
do."
it? Like you just
Yeah.
do that?
And she says, like, Veronica, without really knowing Betty very well and not knowing like her situation with Kevin, because she says like, "Oh yeah, me and Kevin are kind of on the rocks, whatever." And Veronica's advice is basically like, "Yeah, like maybe you should just like invite someone else to the sock hop and get Kevin jealous and see what happens there, because like
Yeah.
that's how she plays it." So it's kind of cute. We get like a little bit of
I
a,
loved it.
like a Veronica Betty moment, which was cute, like a Veronica moment.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was down for it, but at the same time, I'm also like, are we gonna see more of this? I love the Betty Veronica combo, but now there's a boy stuck in between them, so
Well,
we'll see
that's
how
what
it
it's
goes.
always sort of been about. And I'll say this now, and I'll probably say it again later on. The chemistry between all the actors is you feel it. Like you feel
Yeah,
it, you see it, you hear it. Like they are so it's truly like magic to watch because you're it's like I'm peering into like their conversations as if like they're like, you know, like real friends
besties at home.
talking and
Yeah,
chatting. You just the chemistry is there and they're just so much fun to watch whatever they're doing, whichever universe they're in, like they're
yeah,
just fun to watch.
agreed. I know, it's really really cute.
Yeah.
So anyway, Betty gets advice. Then it cuts to Cheryl talking to Dilton because she's still sitting at that booth asking like, "Hey, why aren't you getting a ticket? Why are people returning their tickets to the sock hop? Like, what is going on?" And she finds out that the serpents essentially are threatening to egg people as they are like
Going
going
to the
to
dance.
the dance. And she's like, "Who is like who's leading this? Like, what the hell is going on?" And Cheryl deduces that it's Tony. So she's
Hmm.
like, "It's on, bitch." Which again, I love because this is kind of how Tony and Cheryl started in the other world.
Yeah,
Like, they
yeah.
started kind of as like
Yeah.
enemies, then frenemies, then
Enemies
like
to lovers.
lovers. So like I love that they're kind of still playing with that
100%.
experience because it just works really well for them. I don't know. So she's like, "Tag, you're it, ready to like fight back." Then it cuts to Archie. Um, this moment was so cute. Mary's doing the dishes,
Aw.
and Archie's like,
Shout out
"Can
to
you help me,
Mary.
mom?"
Like, ugh,
He's
love
literally
her.
like this, like in a
Like,
tiny
this doesn't
suit.
fit
He's
me.
like, "This doesn't fit," because he probably
It's
hasn't
from like
worn it
his
since he's
grade
like,
5 like communion. Like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking too. And so she's laughing, and then she gives him one of Fred's old tops, and it was a really cute moment
so
between
cute.
Archie and Mary. And honestly, sometimes I'm just like, okay, we get it, Archie and Mary. But this episode, I really loved
No, I love freaking loved it.
seeing them together and like talking together. And I think it's because the old Mary comes with so much other weird baggage, and
Yeah, and she came at
she
a
wasn't
time when we were so used to Luke and Fred,
yeah.
and she felt like this like foreign parent.
Yeah, and then she wasn't there for half the
Yeah,
season, right? I
yeah.
guess like she wasn't a regular, so she would show up from Chicago with her
Yeah,
girlfriend,
with
and
her
like she broke
girlfriend,
up with
yeah.
her, and like she just came at the most inopportune time. So like seeing her as a full time mom to Archie and being the sole parent to Archie in this world, and like lamenting over the fact that they lost Fred, and like having those moments really like I don't know, this episode like really underscored their relationship. It didn't annoy me. I don't know, they were really cute. This moment really like I don't know, it was really
Oh,
special to
no,
see it.
yeah, I agree. It was
um
there's one thing that Riverdale writers have done consistently right, and that's written Fred's role and impact on Archie perfectly.
yeah,
Like
and Mary,
like
yeah.
Mary came a bit after obviously, but like from the beginning, Fred and Archie to the point where like when we lost Luke Perry and then they had to write that into the show, they've always like brought justice to that relationship, and it's
Yeah,
always been so beautifully done, and they've
yeah,
never messed it up, they've never slipped on that ever.
for
And
sure.
adding this layer of now Mary in the mix, it was just so beautiful to see. Like she's so nurturing, she's so like supportive. Freaking loved it, I loved
Yeah,
it.
it was great. It was so good.
Yeah,
So she gets him ready for this little dinner that he's having with Veronica. And then it cuts to Archie talking to Betty about writing a poem because one thing that I forgot to mention in the scene before, Mary talks about the fact that like Fred used to write her poems, and like
yeah,
it was like this really
because they were
sweet
like
thing
high
that they
school
used to do.
sweethearts. Yeah.
So then Archie's like, "Oh, I'm gonna write her a poem." So he writes Veronica a poem, goes over to Betty and asks if her to
So
proofread
can we
it.
quickly just talk about how the fact that like in this moment Archie was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to Veronica's to like whatever," and she was like, "Oh, like that doesn't really sound like." She used the word haughty,
Haughty.
H
Yeah, I
A
feel like
U G H T Y. And I don't know what that means. I was like, "What does that mean?"
I think it means like I don't know actually.
Wait, I
Should we
want to
look it
like,
up?
yeah, I'm
Let's
gonna
Google
Google it.
this.
Oh,
Arrogantly
arrogantly
superior
superior.
and
So
disdainful.
she uses that to describe Veronica because she just kind of hears like a sound of it and she's like, well, that doesn't really sound nice. That
Sounds
she's
like
like
bougie a
like
little
she's
bit.
kind of like leading you on to like be a contestant in her thing. So but that
Right.
was the first sort of like inkling of that Mary sort of noticed. But of course Archie doesn't notice it. It goes right over his head.
Right. Um so anyway, it cuts to and I can't wait to talk about that showdown between her and
Oh my
Veronica because
god.
that was
I know,
amazing.
I could tell you're like
So
ready.
freaking amazing. But anyway, before that, it cuts to him talking to Betty. He wants her to proofread it, and he's like, "Just tell me if it's really weird or sounds awkward." And she really likes it, and it's a
Yeah.
moment again that we get
I
like
was
a
like
little bitty
shook.
itty bitty Barchie moment where she says like Archie has a poet's soul, and she's really
It's like, who
impressed by
knew?
him. And again, I think like going back to what we're talking about with like this new version of how they I guess start to nurture this new relationship that they have, she's not known these things about him. So to your
Yes.
point, in the
Yes.
original version, she she's known about him, she's very observant of him, she knows that he's the boy next door,
She
and
knows his limits and
she knows how to play within him.
strengths. Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that's why she falls in love with him. These little things she has not in the 17 years that they've been neighbors has not realized that
Yeah.
he's a poet soul because he's never really exposed those things to her, I guess. And also I guess he's even learning himself that like he's like, "Oh, I'm a poet. Cool." So I think it's cute to see them kind of discovering new sides of each other as we get to watch it in real time as
100%.
well. Um it just adds something different to their relationship. So anyway,
It's
so
very organic. Like this is
it
how
feels
feelings
new.
start, right? Like
Yeah. And that's the thing. It feels like we're watching it on ground zero. Like
Yeah.
we're not. There's no history behind it. It's like it is happening in this moment while
Yeah.
we get to watch it all kind of unfold. So then it cuts to Cheryl visiting the dark room. They call it the dark room. I guess this is like the white worm in the other
Oh,
world.
yeah, yeah.
And this is where like all the
She
other
even
people
says, she's
hang
like,
out.
I thought you would be like in a dive bar, like motorcycle bar or something. And she's like,
Right.
no, it's just a cafe.
It's a cafe, girl, like relax. And so she talks to Tony about what she did, and Tony basically is like not letting up. She's like, listen, I did that because I want my boy Fangs on that stage. I also was just like, why is she so
I know.
invested to
I was
get
like,
Fangs on that stage?
I was like, what are you? Like his mommy? Like
Or
what are
like his
you?
manager, his PR person,
Like
what is
manager mommy.
happening?
Like relax.
Momager. Yeah. I was like, what's happening here? So anyway, she's really wants him to be on stage. She's like, it is what it is. Like that, those are your choices. Otherwise, if he doesn't show up, then we're gonna egg all your patrons essentially.
Yeah.
And so she says, why don't you stay? Fangs is about to go on stage. We don't get to watch the performance, but later on we realize that she's game and she's down for it.
Yeah.
So then it cuts to Archie arriving in Veronica's and him thinking, poor guy, that
It's
it's
just
a date between the two of
yeah.
them. It's a bunch of people, including Julian and a few other suitors who I don't think we really know
No,
who
they're
they
like
are or see
randos.
them.
So can we just
Um,
I'm just gonna quickly say that Charles Melton was not available to film for the first 3 or 4 episodes. That
yes,
is
one of
literally
our
the only
listeners.
reason
Yeah,
why he's
yeah,
not in this. Which also leads me to like think like when he does come back, like what role does he fill? Because, anyways,
yeah.
yeah, without getting too much into
We
it.
said it last episode. Like Julian is filling that role right now.
But then when he
So
comes back, does Julian just dip? Like what
or
happens?
is it just going to be like an extra layer? And that's the thing. It's really unfortunate. Like I'm happy for Charles Melton, and his career obviously has skyrocketed since Riverdale, and he's like, I'm too good for this shit. Fair enough. But it's unfortunate that he couldn't make these scenes.
Because it
Like
would have been really freaking good.
because it would have been good to
Yeah.
see like him in this
Like
world now,
Julian's
and
so like
it's
bland. Like he's
different.
just like
It's I mean, I do like the fact that like, and Reggie wouldn't have brought this to the world, I don't think, unless they would have changed his
because
story as
Reggie and
well.
Archie are boys. Like they were never really like
They had a bit of a tiff in the beginning,
for
but
like
they
a
were never
minute.
really like rivals. But
Yeah.
also, when you look at Reggie, the original, this Reggie, his dad's like a working class dad. He owns like a car dealership.
True.
Julian comes
He's
from
like
money,
rich. Yeah, yeah.
and like it kind of falls into place of that whole almost a Chad character, that one that she was married to, Veronica
Yeah,
was
yeah.
married to, like hoity toity, blue blood, like we
Yeah.
both are rich, like your parents are rich, I'm rich. So he kind of fills that role, but it's true, like where is Reggie gonna fall into the situation? If that is the case, I hope his entrance is very explosive, and maybe that is what brings Veronica and Reggie together in this final
I
season,
think
like
so.
this
Maybe.
introduction.
Yeah.
I'm very curious to see how they play it out,
Me
because
too.
it's a big question mark. I think it was a big question mark probably for them too. The writers were probably like, so
How
you're
do we
saying that
do
Charles Melton
this?
can't show up for the first 4 episodes? Like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see how he's gonna
Yeah.
jump in. A lot of people were speculating, I think you even might have mentioned it last episode, where the mysterious beanie showed up, and the fact
Mm.
that like, is that his involvement? Like, is he kind of still on the periphery of the universes,
Yeah.
being like, I'm here but I'm not quite here, here's a beanie that I stole from Percival, like I'm here now, and I'm also gonna forget everything and
Yeah.
become a part of the 50s. I don't know. I don't really know what they're gonna do with this character, but I'm interested. So anyway, they have this whole situation. Archie's going into it. He's very nervous about it. But it doesn't kind of resolve until a few late scenes later. It cuts to Betty talking to Alice about her feelings for Archie. She's like, I don't know, like I saw him and we've been hanging out a little bit more, and I've been feeling like some feelings in my body. And she basically, Alice is like literally a cock block. She's basically like
100%.
she's like, no, it has to do with the fact that you got rejected by Kevin, like you need to work on that
Like totally
relationship,
gaslighting her. She's like, it's because of
totally making her
Kevin.
feel some type of way about it. So then Betty's like, okay, I guess you're right. Thank you, Mom. You are very helpful, even though she never is. But
And
so
she
anyway,
also like she just alluded to like so many things that like she did with Hal, like obviously in
Yeah.
that other universe, like she's like, you can't like have sex or like just like dumb shit like that. I was like, girl, you did that already too, and you're like childhood probably.
I know.
I
I
just
know. I
didn't
was
like
like,
Alice, and I was pretty annoyed by her. And so I was like looking for one iota of like a normal mom person, and like she's still not there. Like she's still
no.
unhinged Alice. Like
She's very like that unhinged conformist Alice who like is brainwashed into that world.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, at least she's in the 50s. She was doing that kind of shit in like 2000. So at least she's like in the time period that it makes sense.
yeah.
So anyway, so she kind of derails Betty's like exploration of this relationship with Archie. And then it cuts to Jughead and Ethel at Ethel's place. And they're talking about the drawings that she put together. Or Jughead's so excited. He's like, oh my God, these look so amazing. You're such a great artist. And she's like, okay, cool. And then she decides to ask him to the sock hop. And Jughead's like, oh, like as friends? Like right away,
She's like,
she's
yeah, I'm
like,
going too. Like, so I guess we could go there
he's like, I
together.
guess there'll be like free food or something. And she's like, yeah, sounds good. Like poor Ethel, like pushed to the side. She's like, yeah, just as friends. But he says yes. He's like, I'm down. She's like, cool, cool, cool. As he's about to leave, her mom comes in and is like really
Like
upset with
freaking
her,
out. She's like, don't you dare
freaking out,
close
like,
the
why is there a boy
door.
in the room? Yeah.
They're standing
So
like 20 feet apart. Like
I know.
clearly nothing was
Take it
happening.
down a notch. But anyway, I fair. I mean,
Yeah.
I think all parents would
It's like
probably
at that time,
do
yeah.
that. So then it cuts to Veronica's party. And Archie's really starting to feel like a sore thumb. Like
Yeah, he's just
he's
like sitting there in the corner.
really feeling left out. And Veronica is making a little bit of an effort
Yeah.
with him too. She's trying to pull him into the conversation because everybody's talking and like making jokes and laughing, and Archie's just sitting there like trying to be engaged, but also like probably very overwhelmed with what the F is happening right now. He also like walked into something not realizing that that was what the situation was. So anyway, it's just like getting really bad with Archie feeling some type of way. Veronica's trying to push and like trying to get him to talk a little bit more. Archie's feeling out of place. Julian kind of pushes on his buttons, being like, oh, like, where'd you get that suit from? It looks so old. Like, you can't even afford a new suit or whatever. And
He's
then he
like, it's
says
my
it's,
dad's. And then he's like, oh, like what he wore to the grave? I was like,
I was like,
dude, that's
Julian, you
tight.
so rude out here.
It was
That's some mean
savage.
shit. And then Archie's like, he was buried in his uniform, you piece of shit. Like he just got pissed. And then he does kind of catch himself and he says, I'm gonna excuse myself, which is very different from the
I
Archie that we
mean,
know. Because he would have launched himself across that freaking table and strangled the F out of him if that was the old Archie.
the
But he
way you're
says,
like so impressed with Archie's
I
non-violent side.
I am so impressed because
I was
I
like,
think
was
it's
he that
because
violent?
he was. Are you kidding me? This guy had he owned a boxing ring, girl. Like he was
I
ready to fight
know, I
everybody.
know.
But like just watching him being like this person who's just like, okay, like you're really irking me, and like if I don't leave now, I will punch you in the face. I'm out.
So cute.
I loved it.
So
I think at the
cute.
end of the day, it still showed that Archie has like a lot of class in this world. Not to
You
say that he didn't have
classy.
like didn't not to say that he didn't have class in the other world, but I think after he came back from the war, he was over people
And
acting
it's
some type
also
of way.
like there's also a sense of pride in him, right? Because he's like,
Yeah,
you know what? You're not even worth it. Like I'm here. Like I'm good. I'm
yeah,
gonna leave the situation. This is not worth it. And to
right,
have that sort of backbone too is very like it's sexy. Like it's he's not just like sitting there being like, wah, wah, like you know.
right. And I think it is caught by Veronica a few
Yeah,
times, like in this
yeah.
moment. She kind of
She
notices
clearly
how
wanted
she
him and only him, and it's like she couldn't just say that. Like
yeah, she's just acting like a fool. So anyway, so he leaves. Then it cuts to Veronica coming to visit Archie the next morning at the Andrews res.
the
And
nerve, the audacity,
the
the audacity on this
audacity.
girl.
This girl comes in and is like, hey, just want to say hey to my boy.
Because she's like, oh, she's like, hey, Miss Andrews, like, where's Archie? She's like, he's at the grocery store. She's like, this early? Well, then why are you here if it's this
Yeah,
early?
girl, what is going on with your life? Like, go get some groceries. Um, so this part killed me because for the first
Dead.
time, probably like ever, like Mary killed her, like
Like,
destroyed
duh,
Veronica.
destroyed. And
Didn't
it's so
even miss a
funny
beat.
because it's like in this episode, everything that I wanted as I was watching, I was like, this is gonna happen. It happened.
Yeah.
And there's so many times when I'm watching Riverdale, I'm like, is this gonna happen? And then they don't go that way, or just it
Right.
cuts the commercial or whatever. But this, I was like, Mary, pop off, Mary, and she did. And
She ripped her. Like she ripped right into
so
her.
what did she say?
She was like, how dare you do that to my son? He told me what happened. Like how like she was like, you're the villainess in all of this. You thought that you were
Yes.
pitting like the boys against each other, and it's not even Julian and Archie, it's actually
She's
you. I
like,
was
I
like,
hope you know that you're the villainess in the situation.
I know, and Veronica's like,
And well, I was
yeah.
like,
I was gagged. I was so shocked. I was like, what the hell?
not Mary Andrews rewriting that entire scene. Like, girl.
Mary destroyed her. She like ripped her a new one.
And then she
I was like,
slammed the door on her face.
yeah, she's basically like, don't try that stuff with my son. Like
Ugh,
he's better
and then
than that. He's
she
a
was like,
good kid.
my son is so good. I'm like, oh, my
Yeah, it
baby
was just
boy.
I clap moment. I was like I just slow clap
Pour
to
one out
Mary
for Mary
Andrews.
Andrews.
Yeah, vote for Mary Andrews. Like I was so impressed, and
Oh,
Veronica got
man.
what she deserved. Like I think it was really cool to see her have this lesson and this learning moment so early on in the season, because it shows that she's like going to start changing,
100%. She knew
and
she messed up.
she knows she messed up, but also I think that like having this hoity-toity girl walk in, you don't know where she's gonna play and how she's gonna
Yeah.
play, and now that she's
And
kind
how
of getting
long
this
she's gonna
shake
play that
up.
for. Like, we don't know how long she's gonna. The one thing I did was I felt so bad for her in this moment. I really did, because
You
it
felt
was
bad for
like,
Veronica?
yeah, I did, because even though, yeah, she shouldn't have done what she did, but in this moment, there's a mom standing in front of her protecting her son, and Veronica doesn't have that.
Doesn't
Like,
have that,
she's
yeah.
literally just standing there in front of an adult, and the adult's like cursing her out for like, no, she should have known better, and like she doesn't know better, because like she's raised by like
She's
nobody.
like
Like,
abandoned by her
I just felt
parents.
so
Yeah,
bad for her, Like
that's fair.
she almost like looked at Mary being like, wow, this is so nice. Like a mom is caring for her son like so deeply,
Right. She's
Anyways.
like, my mom has a TV show and she doesn't even
Yeah.
talk to me on the phone. Yeah. So anyway, then it cuts to Alice asking Kevin over. These parents are suddenly like running in on these kids. Like it was like back to back, Veronica getting told by his mom, and then it was like Kevin being like coached by Betty's mom. So she's over and she's like, you know what, Kevin? Betty's a simple girl, just like all girls are simple, simple girls. You just got to give her a pin and everything will be fine. So he's like nervous, obviously, because
Yeah.
he
Like he
doesn't know what the
doesn't
F he's
want
doing.
really. Yeah.
He doesn't want it. He doesn't know what he's doing. And he says, like, she's just a basic B and this is all she needs. She just wants to be known, told that she's like wanted and feels good about herself. And the pin is going to do that. She's like, it'll take the pressure off of you. It'll take the pressure off of her. Win-win. Just do it. Here's the pin that
In
Hal gave
her.
me. We're good to go. So Kevin's like, okay, cool. Then it cuts to Tony helping Cheryl sell tickets to the sock hop. And again, a really cute Shoni moment. Like they're playing together.
I
They're
freaking love
already
this moment.
like they're just like bantering with each other. She's like grabbing tickets from people, intimidating them, being like, you're gonna buy
Yeah, yeah.
5 tickets,
Yeah.
right? And then she like hands like, Cheryl the money, and you can see that Cheryl's having these glances where she's like, I'm getting the stirrings. The stirrings are
The
happening for her too.
stirrings.
They're all
So
happening
there
for
was a
them.
really cute moment because Tony looks over at her and she's like, did you tell Kevin that like he's out, like that he's not gonna perform?
Yeah.
And I think early on in the episode, Tony at one point says to Cheryl, like, can you dig it or something?
Uh-huh.
And then like in this moment, she's like, did you tell Kevin? And she's like, no. She's like, I didn't tell him yet, but she's like, I will. And she was like, can you dig it? And I was like, that's so cute. Like Cheryl's like starting to like just open up a little bit more
Open
and
up
like
a
just
little
like
bit more.
relax, It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
very, and that's the thing. Like I love the subtleness of this episode because like it's just in those little lines and you hear it and you're like, okay, it's starting. It's starting. And I
It's
love
starting.
that. Yeah.
It's starting. I love it. It's so good. Then it cuts to poor Ethel in the principal's office because she was drawing in class, trying to catch up and
Yeah.
draw these drawings. And this freaking psychiatrist. So we did find out through our listeners that this psychiatrist is he was
Oh
the
my God, I forgot now.
superintendent from
From the
Jughead's
prison.
old school.
From the prison. He's the warden in the prison.
Oh, I looked him up, and he was like the guy who like jumps out the window at the end of that
Okay, maybe
season.
maybe I'm remembering it
So
wrong.
many, maybe it
Yeah,
was both of them,
maybe
but
both.
yeah, he was the one that like was like trying to come for Jughead in that world. So they just rehired him as a psychiatrist. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see like what his
And
role
like,
is going
why
to
are they like
be.
working together? Like,
Yeah.
what?
No,
What's?
I think the print, like to your point, I think the principal is the warden, but the
Oh,
psychiatrist
okay, okay,
is the other
okay.
guy. So anyway, it's just interesting to see that these new characters are kind of being repurposed in this world, and like does that mean anything? We don't know.
Yeah.
So the psychiatrist is like asking Ethel all these questions, like, where are these visions coming from? They're so demonic and like evil. And she's like, bro, it's for a comic book. Like, it's
It's
not
my
even
job.
from my brain. Like, I'm actually just writing for a comic book.
Yeah.
And the principal's like, no, well, you shouldn't be doing that anyway. You're getting detention starting today. And Ethel's like, cool, I'm just gonna not go to detention because I have to go to the office later. So anyway, cuts to Veronica talking to Archie in the hallway, and she apologizes to him. And he still, like, even through all of that, the ish that he had to be put through by Veronica, he's still happy enough to say, hey, girl, you want to go to the sock hop with me? And she actually decides, and I don't know if she does it on like in that moment, or she had decided this after like she left maybe Mary's, like Mary Andrews. Um,
Mm.
but she says that she's not going to go with anybody.
Yeah. She's like, I'm just gonna go solo.
But then Archie gets pissed because then he's like, well, then what was the point of you
Yeah.
doing all the things that you did? And then she says something, and it like this is kind of like where the meat and bones, I guess, of this version of Veronica is. She goes, it was a game, Archie. The queen of the hive gets her worker bees all buzz and flies away before anyone gets stung too badly. And so she's doing it as a coping mechanism. She's doing it
100%.
because she
Yeah.
doesn't know how to handle love, and she doesn't know
Mm-hmm.
how to handle the
Rejection
true
or
and pure attention of a
yeah.
boy, and yeah,
And
rejection
like the
too.
fear, right? That like if you get too close and then he leaves and then like
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
done for.
Yeah, done. So that is kind of her foundation in this story. So it'll be interesting to see what else they play with that, and if they bring the parents in, how that has affected her, and how that's different from the Hiram and Hermione that we know from the original world. But yeah, she's clearly very guarded, and she was just admittedly saying to Archie, like, yeah, I'm just being a bee for being a bee.
That's what queen shit
Um,
is.
yeah. And then it cuts to Veronica and Betty talking in the change room. Veronica says, like, I'm going solo right now. And then Betty kind of like, she perks up, and she's like,
Yeah.
oh, does that mean that like Archie is like free on his own? Like, he's not asking anybody
Yeah.
out. And she also says, like, did he give you the poem? Like, did you read the poem that he gave you? And
She's like,
Veronica's
what
like, I don't
poem?
remember a poem. Like, I'm still not going with him, but like, cool. Like, I just, that sounds good.
Yeah.
And then Betty's like getting more excited because she's like, "Ooh, maybe I should ask Archie
I volunteer.
to the dance." Then it cuts to Betty literally about to approach Archie. I was like,
Wait, like this moment was like crazy. The music was
dude, it
nuts.
was so like
It was
romantic,
like
and like it's like slow
she's like
motion.
and
It's
then
like
Archie's like
moving. He's like,
he got excited because
hey.
he was like, oh, what is she doing?
And then it's like literally record scratch, and then Kevin's like, "Hey, girl, come over here.
Yeah.
Can you come
He's
over
like,
here?"
Verity, it's important right now. We gotta go. She's like, oh, fuck.
She's like, "Fine." So then they meet in the music room, and he apologizes for being a crappy boyfriend, and he gives her the pin.
He
So he
pins
does like
her.
everything
Pins
that
her down.
the mom wanted him to do, and he goes even harder. He's like, "I love you. You were the
She's
girl
like,
for me." She's like,
I didn't want
I just
that.
wanted a pin. I just wanted you to kiss me. I wrote down, "Oh God," because I was like, "This is gonna
He went
go
too far.
so
He didn't know
horribly."
what to say, the poor guy. He just kept going.
He's like, "Here's a pin, and I love you,
I love
and I'm
you.
gonna marry you, and I want your children, and let's get married right now." Like, he just like goes all the way. I mean, the sad reality is I feel like that was a lot of
Yeah,
people's
no, and he was
struggles.
cute in this moment. Like he was.
They leaned into like living the lie for as long
Yeah.
as they could, because like that is just what people did. So
Yeah.
I don't know. And that's the thing. Like, to a degree, as much as he's been annoying in past seasons, the way that they're writing him
Yeah,
now,
it's
it's not annoying me. It's more
no.
just like, oh, that sucks that you have
Yeah.
to like push yourself into the situation and feel this awkwardness and weirdness. And
And
I
Casey's
don't
been
know.
playing it
I
really
felt it.
well too. Like I will
Yeah,
give him that.
he did a great job. Listen, he did a great job being that psycho that they wrote in the other seasons, but
That's
like,
true.
it's just
That's
the
true.
writing. It was the writing.
Yeah.
Anyways, so he's leaning into this thing. Betty's like, sure. And even in that moment, I felt bad for her because she was like, bro, I was about to ask out your boy, like Archie. Like,
Yeah.
you can tell that she felt bad, that she didn't want to break up with him. She's just like, okay, I'm going to lie to myself. Like,
100%.
sure,
She just
let's do
kind of
it.
resolved it and she's like, all right, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Which is exciting because we know that that's not going to last
no.
forever. Then it cuts to the psychiatrist telling the principal that Ethel skipped detention, and they're like, "What is wrong with this girl? We need to talk to her." Like, they make it such a big situation this episode, and I was like, "Why do they gotta go in on Ethel like this? Like,
Yeah.
so
Like they go
rude."
so hard on her.
And they make it seem like she's like this delinquent child. Like, she literally drew one thing, and they're like, "She's the
Yeah.
devil."
Yeah, like
Like,
if it had been like a pattern of drawing weird shit, like I don't understand, but like it was like
yeah.
one drawing, like calm down.
Exactly, like the one time that she had a boy
Yeah.
in her room for the first time probably in her entire freaking life, and then in the same week she draws one thing for a comic book and then like
Just
doesn't pay
getting it
attention in
in.
class. She freaking gets detention, and now she's like a juvenile delinquent. Like, you're talking about Ethel effing Muggs. Like,
Yeah.
she couldn't hurt a fly.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I mean,
I mean, or does she? Um, doo-doo-doo-doo. Then it cuts to Smithers. So Smithers
he's
is in this
back.
world. He
Yeah.
shows up and he says, "This was in the trash, madam." And Veronica's like, "Okay, let me read it." So she reads it, and that's exactly how she does it. I don't know about you, but that's what she says on camera. And then, she reads the poem, and she's like, "Oh snap! I did not realize that I done effed up with Archie." So
Yeah.
then it cuts to Ethel. She gets home and she's all happy because she got like such a glowing thing. I don't think I talked about the fact that they went to the comic book place. The guy's like, "Oh my god, you're an amazing writer.
Yeah,
You're
yeah, yeah.
hired."
She got hired, yeah.
High fives all around. And then yeah, so she gets home and her parents are pissed. Like,
Like
they are not happy about what happened. Again, this one time she like
and it was like
skips out, like
yeah. It was
the dad was like,
intense.
"What's wrong with you?" Like, I was like, I get it if it was like, I don't know, I guess they just don't have the time to do it, but the backstory isn't there for me.
Well,
Like,
like it happened in one sentence because she was like, I don't care, mom. You're an alcoholic, and dad, you're like never here. I was like, okay, that's her life. Like the end. Like we got
"Mom, you
it.
put down a bottle for once and saw that your daughter was learning how to draw, then you wouldn't be okay with it. Like, thanks for paying attention to me. I just skipped attention one fucking time."
And dad, when I was 3 years old, you hit me in the face, and I've been traumatized ever. Like she went off, and I'm like, oh. And they even like followed her to like her bedroom door.
Yeah,
And she's
and
like,
she,
I'm going to the
closes it.
dance, and they're like, oh hell,
Go to
you're not.
dance.
And the mom said something. She's like, over my dead body, you are. And I'm like, oh, you just cursed yourself, lady, because now you go die.
You don't do that in Riverdale. So then it comes to the sock hop. Then we get to like the final scene, the sock hop, and
So sorry, before we get, did you think anything of her that moment? Because like
you know
for
what?
me, when the mom said it, I'm like, you're out. Like that's it. Some shit's
I
gonna go
didn't.
down.
I think I guessed that was what was gonna happen, but like two
Yeah.
things. I think one of our listeners spoiled it and said that she probably kills them, and then also she shows up in the trailer at a dance like covered in blood.
Oh my god,
So,
I totally forgot about that. I totally forgot.
so I was like,
Wasn't even
she's
thinking
gonna
of
get
that.
violent or something is gonna happen.
True.
But also, and we'll talk about it at the end of the episode,
Yeah.
we don't really know whose blood that is. So
No,
anyway.
you're right. You're right. It might
You
be
don't
her
know
own.
what's
It might be
gonna
like a heavy day. You just don't know.
happen.
But it's in the front, so I don't know about that.
He's like, clean up
Even
on aisle
Jughead
4.
was
Like,
like, is that your...
not us making fun of periods.
Oh my god, I'm
God.
allowed. Okay.
I know. I'm like, go on. You said it, not me first. Like, let's go. Anyways, so funny. So the sock hop, And I didn't realize this, and I don't know why I didn't until
Me
it showed it.
too.
The socks
They're
taking
literally
the shoes
socks.
off.
I'm
Yeah,
like, oh my
they wear their
god.
socks and they dance. That's cute.
We're so
Okay,
not from
cool.
that jet time,
I know.
clearly.
Everybody's like,
I'm
everybody
thinking like
nowadays is
they're
like,
just like
ooh.
sock hopping, like that's like the dance.
That's like the type of the name of the dance.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so they take their shoes off and then they go dance.
Yeah.
Um, then it like shows everybody in their kind of sequences. First, it shows Kevin. He's kind of hanging out, and Clay low key flirts with him. He's like,
Like high
"Oh,
key.
hey, yeah, high key actually." He says like, he says, "Oh yeah, like I heard you're not performing anymore. That sucks. It would have been nice to see you." But like Fangs is like easy on
Easy on
the
the eyes,
eyes.
right? Just
And then
like
he's like,
you.
"So are you."
Yeah.
But we're saying it like I'm saying it in a very weird way, but like he says it in a very
No, but like
classy, kind, like almost
true.
not
I get what you're
presume,
saying.
like not like a very like I'm coming on to you way.
No,
Like
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
way to say it to be like, "Ooh, girl, I would
Yeah,
eat
yeah,
you
yeah.
up."
No,
You know what I
no.
mean? Like
Very like
just almost innocent in a way. Like it was almost
yeah.
like he said it, and you said this earlier, like
But
he
like
presents it almost like he's so comfortable with his sexuality that it's not a big issue for him. So he even says, he's like,
yes.
"Yeah, you're handsome. Like, yeah, you're cute,
100%.
and so is he." And like he doesn't say it with any level of like trying to be weird or like skirting around it. And like in that time, you would think that
Yeah.
that was a big topic. Like nobody talks about
Well,
being
yeah, because
gay or
even
like
Kevin
being,
Kevin was like, "What? Like you just think
yeah,
I'm
he was
attractive now? You just said
he was
that?"
like,
Like he was like glitching
me.
out. He's like, "I gotta go to Betty."
Yeah, exactly. So it is interesting to see like Clay with this like confidence, and to your point, maybe it is because he's worldly, and like maybe that'll come into his history. Maybe we'll find out like, listen, my dad was in all these different countries, they treat gay people in a
Yeah,
different way and it's very positive. I don't know what country that is in the 50s, but maybe
that's
it's out
true.
there. Like, I don't know, let's
Yeah,
give us some hope.
yeah,
um but yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how that relationship develops, because
a
I'm very
hundred percent.
excited about getting to that point for
Yeah,
them. Then it cuts to Fangs performing. Everybody is vibing with his
it
dance.
was
He's got a
good.
great voice. Shout out to Fangs and the singing. It was fun. It was
Yeah,
good. Then it shows Cheryl as like he's performing. Cheryl talks to Tony, and Tony asks her to
it was so
dance.
cute.
It was
She's like, "Are
so
you gonna come
cute.
like and dance?" She's like, "No."
She's like, I don't want to. And then she's like, oh, like I can't dance with another girl. And Tony's
But
like,
it
why can't you
everyone
dance
was
with another
dancing
girl?
together. I was like, there's nothing like
Yeah.
everyone was dancing together, so I was like, it's not like you're gonna stand out. But just another really cute Shoni moment. And like I know the Shoni shippers are out there, like they are fully fed after last
Yes.
night, like fully fed. And
It
it's
was a
so
great
freaking
moment.
cute. So cute.
So she pulls him onto her onto the dance floor. They're dancing, super cute. But the principal
Oh, freaking
lurking
lurking.
like a freaking weirdo. Ugh.
So creepy
She
looking.
sees them dancing
He's
and
like,
he gets like pissed. He's like, um, so then it cuts to people slow dancing. He moves to like a slow dance song.
yeah,
And then it shows Veronica, and she goes to talk to Archie
yeah.
about his poem. She's like, hey boy, I read your poem. It was
And
really
she like says
sweet.
it, and it was
Yeah.
very cute.
Yeah,
And
like
he's like, I tried to rhyme, and she's like, yeah, it's okay. Like it was a very
it was
cute
really sweet.
interaction.
It's
And
really
then what
sweet.
does she say then? She's like, I'm okay. Like, you want to dance now? Like, she's like, I'm
Would
down.
you have this dance with me? And for the first time
He's
probably in
like,
like
sort
history, he rejects her. And
loved
he
it.
says, no, no, no. I'm gonna go dance with my
Mommy!
mama. Mommy, let's go
And then like
dance.
you just see him like off like in the back, he like runs over to Mary and he like grabs her. I'm like, oh my god.
And she's like, damn. She's like so
Yeah,
pissed.
she was like, that's cute.
And then Julian kind of scoops in and he
Yeah.
asks her to dance, and then he kind of persuades her to be like, he's like, hey girl, like,
A little bit.
why are you
Yeah,
gonna
because
be
she's
on
like,
the
and she
sidelines?
was
You
like, where
know?
have you been this whole time? He's like, no, I've been here. He's like, I'm just kind of like lurking, whatever, waiting for my
I'm
moment.
lurking.
And then she's like, do you want to dance? She's like, oh yeah, okay, whatever.
Sure, let's dance. So they're dancing, they're paired up. And then it shows like the scene where like behind, almost like in the bleacher area,
Like
a bunch of
everyone who
people
like didn't have a partner.
who
I
didn't have a
was like,
partner, who were
oh.
like single, not dancing, including Tony.
Did you
Tony
see
was
Tony
sitting
was
back
like
there.
chugging?
She's like, And Clay is also there
Yeah.
too. But what I noticed, and like maybe it's just like me noticing these things as a person of color, but like it was a lot of colored people sitting on those bleachers. And like I wonder if
Interesting.
they're like subtly still
Oh,
bringing those little elements in. Like, yes, the school is integrated, but it's like what I mentioned earlier, like they're still not hanging out with each other. They're still not like
yeah.
friends with each other. Like black people are still not being asked to dances, you know?
But
Like
Tony, technically with Tony, I know what you mean though. Like I know. I'm
but
just
like
trying
when I
to
looked around, I was like, everybody on the bleachers is a person of color. Like I
colored,
didn't see
yeah.
one person that wasn't. So I don't
I don't
know. Maybe that
know.
was just like a thing, but I feel like it's pretty purposeful when they
And
do
and
things like that
and
in Riverdale.
JLag, like again, like that is something that they should be covering. Like that's a huge thing.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
mean,
I
they
feel
covered it
like
with Emmett Till, like in the first one,
they
but like
covered it
they
with
still
Emmett
didn't,
Till, and
not
and
within
I
like the Riverdale core, you know?
right, and they haven't, yeah, they haven't touched upon it there yet. And I think that this was a way of saying that this still exists. Like, let's not pretend that we're all like homogenized and we're all like good to go with each other. This was like a little shout out to the fact that they're still in a racist world, even in the small town, as progressive as they think that they are.
Yeah.
So then, as they're all slow dancing, Cheryl's kind of on the sidelines again, and the principal comes to talk to her, and he's like, look at all these people, just straight laced, straight people, just
Yeah.
dancing with a woman.
Isn't
And
that amazing?
isn't it amazing? This is just how it should be.
Yeah, like the
I was
God
like, great,
intended.
fucking hyper religious bullshit.
And she was like,
Um,
yeah,
he's like,
cringe.
cool, my trauma is activating.
Yeah.
Like, she's like getting so nervous. And then in the final scene, we see Ethel pop those doors open, covered in blood, Carrie style, and she falls onto the
Jughead like
floor.
tries to grab her.
Jughead grabs her and she goes, Jughead, something terrible
Something
just happened.
happened.
And that's it.
And he's
That's
like,
all
is
we
this
got.
your blood, girl? Because like it's pretty gross.
Yeah, he's like, ew. He's like, your blood
So
is
yeah, that's
everywhere.
how the episode ends. What did you think
Right.
of that ending?
I was excited because I
Yeah.
think the first episode I said to you, like, are they gonna
Yeah.
have like a murder mystery like angle to this, just like we did in the first season, and that's why we fell in love with it. They're already like twisting the 50s world into something darker
Yeah.
with this blood and scariness. So I guess I'm very intrigued. And I want to know what it is because I think I mentioned it earlier. Yes, we can safely assume at this point in time that like maybe she killed her parents, but also why did she show up to a
Yeah,
dance
like why would
wearing
she?
a
Yeah.
dress in her parents' blood? Like that is a little dramatic
Yeah.
epilogue. So like maybe it happened at the dance, maybe somebody died in front of her, like just out the hallway. Like we don't know what that next scene's gonna
True.
be essentially. So like I'm really intrigued to see like how it's gonna play out next episode. What about you? What do you think about that ending?
I mean, now that I'm hearing what you're saying, yeah, like it might be something else. Like I would love it if they flipped it and like, you know, we lost a student in the first season. We lost Jason. What if this
Right.
season like the killer is a student?
Ooh.
But I don't know, we'll see. I'm excited. I'm very intrigued. I love that ending and I love this episode. It was so freaking
Yeah.
good.
I loved it. It was great. Just a
So good.
different take on Riverdale, but like I ate it all up. Num 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 num.
For sure. Okay.
Recap roundups.
Best moment. My best moment is gonna go to, I think this is like so many people's best moment. It's the Betty and Archie dancing scene. And I think we explained all the reasons why. And also I will add into that is the slow motion walk to his locker and he sees her and he's like looking over to, because he looked intrigued too. He was like, wait, what is she coming over
like,
to tell me? And then
Yeah.
it all ends. But I thought that was such a cute moment.
For sure. My best moment is that Betty Archie slow
Yeah.
dancing in her room scene because like that is the ignition. That is the spark that we need to get
Definitely.
to the final destination. So very
Definitely.
excited.
WTF moment.
WTF moment, I think I'm gonna say probably reintroducing Ethel Muggs, because I forgot about the promos and like I totally forgot. But her storyline, and then obviously like if she killed her parents, like what's going on with that.
Yeah.
In an episode that felt so innocent and like straight laced,
Yeah.
You know, this was the perfect curveball right at the end to kind of be like, nope, this is Riverdale. Like, we're still gonna have a murder. So
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah, that was my WTF moment as well.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we're having very similar thoughts.
We're like
on this episode.
synchronized here.
MVP.
MVP, like I said before, honestly, I couldn't choose one person because I think they were all so great, and I think that it lends to the chemistry that all of these actors have with each other, that they are truly like magic on screen. You know, they light each other up, they like have these like cute little moments, they laugh.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you truly do feel the chemistry between all the actors, like especially with Shoni, like especially Vanessa Morgan and Madeline. Like, you feel it, and that's huge. Like, that's something
For
that,
sure.
you know, after 6-7 seasons, like, you can definitely see that. So that was my MVP for an episode that really was about those relationships, you know.
Mm-mm. Mine is gonna go to one person and one person only, and probably for the first time in Recap Rewind history, Mary effing Andrews giving that slap to the little bratty kid that Veronica showed up to be. I loved that
Loved
moment
it,
so much.
yeah.
I was like,
Yeah.
Mary, you go fight for your son. Yeah, he is the, like, you know, I saw that, and as a parent now, I'm like, yeah, you tell her.
you-
You don't
yeah,
fuck with my
like,
kid. You know what I mean?
Don't
Like,
be effing with my kid.
I loved it. It was so good. She's so amazing.
LVP.
My LVP is gonna go to Alice, just because I really, really did want like a smidgen of a normal Alice or a normal parent for Betty. We obviously don't get that in her at all.
Right.
If anything, she like falsely encourages Betty and like tells her like, oh, like it's just like because like your feelings for Kevin, and like, and then like goes behind her back and like calls Kevin over and like gives,
Yeah, she like
So
goes
just
even further.
very,
Yeah.
you know, it's typical Alice that we've seen in the first earlier seasons, like very controlling, and it's just, I wanted a little bit more from Alice.
And I think that's the thing. The problem is it's the Alice from first season without like the baddie Alice that we knew her as. You know, like her
But
history.
I think she was like alluding to that. I think
Oh,
that's what
does
she
she?
was saying, like when she was like mean, like, you know, like you could, I feel like she was just alluding to this prior past of like sexual deviances and things. Like she probably did that before.
Oh, okay. Because like, that was like
But
her
maybe we'll
storyline.
never
Like,
get
she
to
was
know
a,
that.
She was a part of the Serpents,
Yeah.
Palace, etc.
Freaking, that was iconic. Oh my god.
But my LVP also is Alice.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of her at all
Yeah.
this episode. I was very annoyed that she stuck her nose where it shouldn't have existed. She obviously caused a lot of conflict and elongated this process of getting to Barchie and getting Kevin finally getting Kevin a happy freaking storyline. So yeah, Alice all the way.
The best line.
My best line, I have two, but the first one is the one with Tony and Cheryl when Tony's like, by the way, did you break the bad news to Kevin yet? And Cheryl says, no, but I will. Can you dig it? And
Can
it
you
was like,
dig it?
and the way her face, she's like, can you dig it? Like she's like trying to like be cool.
He's like
it was
almost
so
there.
cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
It's
was
very
really
like
cute.
this, like the Sandy in Greece or
Yes.
like in Greece, like moment where she's starting to be like a little bit of a bad girl.
Yes, definitely.
Loved it.
And then there was also a line by like the writer guy at Pep, and
Yeah.
he's talking to Jughead, and he's like talking about like his writing, I guess, and he's like, well, it's pretentious, clunky, and too much dialogue, but it'll do. And I feel like that's like the perfect summary for Jughead. Like too much dialogue, like
Yeah.
you know,
A little pretentious.
very
Yeah.
pretentious. Like it's totally
For
Jughead
sure,
and Cole
for
Sprouse.
sure. That's so good. My best line is gonna go to our girl Veronica, because when she said it, I was like, "Ooh, you
Yes.
sad girl."
Yeah.
When she says it was a game, Archie, the queen of the hive gets her worker bees a buzz and flies away before anyone gets stung too badly, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's some
Very good
trauma
line.
you gotta deal with, girl."
You know, J-Lag, I'm surprised you didn't pull the Mary Andrews quote, the villainess one.
Oh, I loved her iconic moment. The lines itself, yeah, I was actually
Yeah.
pretty shocked when she
Yeah.
said, "But you're the villainess," but that one was good too.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's get into our recap roundups from our listeners.
Whoa. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. You want to go first?
Yeah, so at Shoni5 on, it says, best moment, every scene with Shoni gave me season 2 vibes with the whole flirting / teasing. WTF moment, Principal Featherhead being a homophobic loser. MVP, Shoni, of course, and Kevin and Clay. LVP, Principal Featherhead, saying Julian Julian and Veronica. Oh, she's listing them all off. Julian and Veronica. What does she stand for? Nothing. Best lines. You and I get better, can get better acquainted, and can you dig it? CHONI interaction.
So cute.
CHONI 5 on it.
Of course. CHONI, you're on brand.
Yeah, you're on brand right now. Yeah.
At Linda, best moment, BARCHIE slow dance. WTF moment, the principal foaming at the mouth over CHONI dancing and specifically trying to keep Cheryl repressed. MVP, Tony and Clay for being unapologetically themselves. Mary for being protective mother. Archie for standing up for himself and walking away from the Julian situation rather than getting aggressive or violent.
There we go. I told you. He's calmed down this season.
LVP, Kevin for interrupting BARCHIE. Alice for pushing her daughter to be with a gay guy. Veronica. I mean, it's more than that, but...
I don't think she knows that in this moment. Yeah.
Veronica for hosting that weird party and treating people like her toys. Best line, what sort of person auditions boys for a sock hop?
That's true.
Yeah.
Mary Andrews knows the tea. At Dyke Wednesday, that's her name. I'm just saying it.
That's her Twitter name, okay?
That's her Twitter handle. Best moment is Veronica outright saying she sees boys as playthings like a queen. WTF moment, Cheryl's only plot lines being either dead guy's sister or lesbian with internalized homophobia. I mean, fair, but this time at least she doesn't have like a super hyper religious mom who's like beating down her neck and is about to send her to a conversion camp. I mean, that we know of yet. MVP, Tony for flirting with Cheryl like it isn't the 50s. Girl, you're gonna get hate crimes. God. LVP, Julian for being so rude to Archie. Like you're both. I can't say these things. Both gingers come back down. Like I said, this is not me. This is one of our listeners. Best line, just fangs scatting. That sure was something. Thank you.
At Deepan Car, BARCHIE all the way. Have to say makers put extra effort in only one ship, i.e. BARCHIE. The lighting, the music, the way the scenes are shot is unmatched, truly.
Yeah.
Best moment, everything BARCHIE. WTF, Kevin hijacking BARCHIE. Everything's like BARCHIE related. Yeah. MVP, KJ and Lily truly enjoying the most. So BARCHIE.
BARCHIE.
Oh my god. Okay, we got some on Instagram too from Naomi. Best moment, Betty and Veronica chatting about boys, the sock hop, and especially the big Carrie moment from Ethel and Betty slamming the door on Kevin in the car. WTF moment, Kevin chasing after boys again and Ethel asking Jug to the sock hop. No, cover-eyed emoji. Throw up emoji. MVP. MVP, Betty just loved the way she helped Archie, and Lily is just a very phenomenal actor and I love her. LVP, Kevin, multiple reasons, but overall just don't like him. Fangs, he's just a very, very bad actor. And Ethel, because why she's back again. Never loved her and never gonna. Jeez.
Damn.
Best line, Archie's poem, and you have a poet's soul, Arch. Who knew? From Betty. Overall thoughts, why Fangs? Doily, Ethel back, question mark. That teacher / doctor is the teacher from season 4, Donna and Brett's school. Did like the episode, but some things I just didn't like. There were things we've already seen before, like Archie chasing after Veronica, even though she has other options. And the actors I just didn't like. Fangs, Ethel. Dude, the hate. Okay, at Sierra N, our girl. Hold on, where does it start? LVP, MVP, best line, best moment. So many. The CHONI dance. I love their chemistry, and I miss seeing them on screen together. The BARCHIE dance scene brought me all the feels, and that scene where Betty is a way to ask Archie to the dance is all kinds of epic. Like CHONI and BARCHIE have unmatched chemistry, and I can't wait for it to be explored more. So WTF, the ending, like that came out of nowhere, and I'm intrigued at what this means for the plot. Like, did Ethel fully kill her parents, or is there more to it? Best line, you have a poet's soul, Arch. Who knew? Again, BARCHIE's chemistry is always unmatched, but this season it hits different. Like, their scenes all were so cute, and I'm liking the build-up we are getting. 100% agree.
Yep.
MVP joint between Betty, Archie, Tony, and Cheryl. Seeing Archie's growth after he rejects Veronica was so satisfying, and you can see these emotional memories from pre-comet appear like RAS said they would in these moments. The way I felt about Veronica last week is how I felt about Betty this week. She is so fun to watch, and I enjoyed every moment she was on screen. Plus, seeing her in this fun, cute, innocent form is so fun and endearing. Cheryl was killing me this entire episode, from the scene where she interrupts Midge and Fangs to when she walks into the coffee shop with the fuck off red coat. Seeing Tony actually be a character for once is refreshing. Seeing Vanessa get to act actually in a properly written role is great. I just wish she got more backstory if we are getting Ethel's. LVP, right. Veronica, she must have done crack off screen this episode, because what the actual fuck was she doing?
Oh my god.
Leading Archie on like that to be like, I'm considering other options. And then after that awful party, she's like, I'm picking no one. And then when she gets rejected, she's like, well, I'm actually picking Julian. Like, girl, go get it together. Though seeing her not pick a man to go with and to go stag is nice, as it ties in with the whole pre-comet emotional memories thing. You guys, Jim Halpert. Overall, I found this episode a bit boring, but I miss a mystery or a villain even. Best moment, Betty standing out for herself with Kevin in the car. I hope they both can have the love they deserve with the right person for them. Very perfectly well said.
Yes, very well said.
MVP, Tony being a badass. LVP, the character growth of everyone that went away, like Tabby. I mean, I don't want to see these characters building things again from scratch. I like that their mindsets had evolved over the years. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Happy to listen to the podcast again.
Aw, thanks. Love you.
Wait, we have one more. This is a new person, I think.
Oh, okay.
From Bree Suarez.
Ooh.
Best moment, Betty and Archie slow dancing for sure. Honorable mention to all the CHONI scenes as well. Oh my god, we're all on like the BARCHIE CHONI. WTF moment, the principal, I think, being all whack and homophobic. Question. The principal. MVP, Archie for calling Veronica out on her BS. LVP, Veronica and Alice. I think that's it, guys. Holy, you guys are so good.
I love it.
So many good roundups. And I think that's it for us.
I do have a question for you before we close off, because we didn't really explore it, and I'm sure it's going to come up again. But this love triangle that they're really setting us up for this time around, like, it feels different than what they did in the original,
the
like,
BARCHIE
world.
one, you mean?
The BARCHIE love triangle. Yeah, I feel like the way it's lined up makes me feel like, how is this all gonna play out? Like, Betty doesn't really know her feelings once the whole Kevin thing is out of the way, let's say. And let's say even once the Julian thing is out of the way. How is that triangle gonna come together? How is it gonna interact? Are we gonna get some more like anger and frustration between Betty and Veronica?
Yeah, like I'd like to see that.
Like, one of the things that RAS I remember saying like in the very beginning is like, that whole idea of a love triangle is so like old school, like we don't want to see that, like it's already been done, it's so tired. But like, you're in the 50s, so like don't tell me that you think that it's not old school.
He already did it in the other, so he that has to kind of go out because he's already done that.
Yeah, and also I think, but the way that it was treated in the past, like it was always like, oh, no hard feelings, girl. Like they always squashed it by like one episode. Like Betty even kissing Archie and that whole thing coming out, like it lasted like 5 seconds. Like they were never mad at each other. There was never like I want to
see that like
fight, but like it was interesting to hear like Betty getting this information from Veronica being like, oh yeah, like Archie's single now essentially, even though he wrote this poem for me. And then Betty kind of going around and almost asking him out, you know, like what if he did show up with her at the sock hop? Like, how would Veronica have reacted knowing that this poem was sitting and waiting for her? Like, there were a few elements that didn't get to be played out because of Kevin, but it would have been interesting to see that play out, because I want to see that. Is there going to be friction? Like, I don't know. How do you feel?
No, I think what's more interesting too is the fact that in this version of events, Betty and Veronica, like, are they best friends? Because right
Yeah.
now, like, they're not as
Yeah.
close as what we've known them to be.
Right.
And so, like, at this point, when you were saying, like, when Betty went and walked up to Archie, her allegiance isn't to Veronica at all, because they're not
Right.
they're not like sisters just yet. And so it all depends on, like, when is this gonna happen, and if it happens, is Betty gonna look at it and say, oh, I owe this to Veronica to tell her?
Yes, exactly.
It's all about that. I don't know. I think
Yeah.
we'll see. I do want to see a little bit of that. Like,
A little bit of tension,
we should
yeah.
get that a little bit. I'm hoping that, honestly, like, by that point, maybe, like, Reggie will be in, and, like, maybe Veronica, like, feels away, but then she's like, wait, like, I feel like I'm better with Reggie anyways. And then, like, she kind of, which is kind of what happens in the comics, right? Like, she
Yeah.
goes to Reggie a lot in the comics too.
Right, exactly. So
Yeah.
maybe we'll skirt around the whole love triangle once Reggie gets kind of introduced. But
I think it'll be a triangle, and then it'll become a square.
yeah. And then, like,
Yeah.
not involve Jughead whatsoever. Like, he's
No.
completely out of it.
No.
Now it's just Reggie.
Yeah.
Cool. Very
Yeah.
exciting. So that is the end of the episode. We would like to take this time to thank our patrons of the episode, as we always do, and appreciate our Rewinder squad. We have White, Cliff, Hannah, and Julia. Our Lit Rewinders, Tina and Kate, and our Mommy Rewinders, Becca, Sarah, and Tamala.
Thank you guys. If you would like to join our Patreon family, check us out at patreon.com/recap_rewind.
And also make sure you're checking us out on all of our socials: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. We also have a Tiki Talkie now. You can watch some of the clips from this episode. I'm sure we're going to be posting some.
Yep.
So just keep an eye out. And also make sure you can find us out on Google Podcasts, Spotify, iTunes, anywhere you listen to podcasts. We are there, ready to fight. Not ready to fight.
We're not aggressive like Archie.
I know we are very
We're so nice.
like, subscribe, follow, review, and comment to stay engaged with us at Recap Rewind. As always, thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.